Hello and welcome to Second Life's Lab Gab, a live streaming show that showcases events, destinations, and different talents across Second Life. I'm your host, Strawberry Linden, and today on our show, I have my fellow members of our marketing team. Brett Linden is the Senior Director of Marketing, and Darcy Linden is the Senior Marketing Manager. Welcome to the show, Brett and Darcy.
Thank you. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
So before I start asking all the marketing questions, I do have a lot of them. I'd like to ask both of you to introduce yourself. Let us know how long you've been working for Linden Lab and what your focus is on. So Brett, can you tell us?
Yeah, so I'm Brett Linden. I'm a longtime resident and member of the marketing team, about a decade or so as a Linden. My main focus at Linden Lab in the past, and most of my time here, has been the destination guide. But then kind of a funny thing happened a year or so ago. I was asked to step up to take on more responsibilities. So really the last year has been a different role for me, where I've sort of headed up and frankly kind of restructured the marketing team, which has involved some amazing hires, both of whom are right here next to me today. I'm just really excited to have you both here, and you guys have really helped our team up our game. Maverick Linden, who I just want to give a shout out to, is another great member of our team. He's just not here with us today, and he's our marketing analyst and also, important part of our team. And I also just want to give props to our previous community manager, Ziola Linden,
Yes.
who was our original LabGab host, of course, right? And she did an amazing job jumpstarting this very program that we're on right now. And of course, you, Strawberry, with your social media efforts as well. And Darcy, who is our amazing performance marketing whiz.
Yes, Darcy, tell us.
Hello. Sure. Hi to all the viewers out there. I'm Darcy Linden, and I work on more of the technical side of the marketing stack. So you probably haven't seen a lot about me out there. But yeah, I've been in LL for about 2 years now, and compared to Brett's time, I'm still a Padawan. But I survived what we call the Linden fire hose, and it's a pleasure to be here. So thank you, Strawberry.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you guys. So, as part of our goal to be more transparent in 2020 with our communication and operations, yesterday we published a very comprehensive blog post covering our marketing efforts for Second Life with details about our growth initiatives and targeted campaigns, etc. So, Brett, would you like to take a moment to talk a bit about that and possibly cover some of the information that was mentioned in the post? And I do want to also let the viewers know that the link to that blog post, if you guys haven't read it yet, is in the description of the video on our YouTube channel currently.
Sure. Yeah. So, oh my God, where to start? If anyone has seen that blog post, we get into pretty detail. I would argue probably more detail than I think we've ever done, at least in my long time here, about what we're going on, sort of behind the curtain, if you will, of marketing. And in writing that blog post, my concern was to really not have it turn into a novel. It just kind of ended up pretty long. But I did want to provide as much insight and transparency as possible into our efforts. I don't think we've done the best job in the past of letting people always know what we're up to. So, I hope that we'll do better in the future, and that blog post helped sort of with that, I hope, at least for the marketing side, to walk through a bit of our current strategy for new user acquisition and retention. And that covers paid advertising, performance marketing, social, organic efforts, really across the board. Sometimes people don't understand the full breadth of what marketing covers and what it doesn't cover, candidly. So there's a lot we left out that we'll hopefully be able to elaborate on today, but I really do encourage everybody to check out, to supplement what we're going to talk about today, the blog post, to see a high level of what we're up to.
For sure, it was a really great blog post, so make sure you guys read it if you haven't already done so. So, in that blog post, also you asked people to submit questions, and we have got a lot of them. So, my first question is, what is the goal for Marketing Second Life in 2020?
I guess I'll jump in and start on that one. At a high level, acquisition of new users so that we see growth for Second Life. Second
Mhm.
Life's entering its 17th year and coming up, with our SL 17 Beast celebrations later this year. And so that's a long time. And so that means there's challenges, and we want to make sure that we see continued growth for Second Life this year. It's also important, and this is a key goal as well, for retention and concurrency, so that people who are already in the Second Life community stay happy and stay engaged, and continue to log in and share, their experiences and continue to create. So that's the retention piece of it. There's also a piece that has to do with what our goals are for helping the Second Life economy, so that when people who earn a living, or whether as a hobby or otherwise, that make sure that what we do helps to keep that healthy. And then also finally to re-energize the Second Life brand and recognizing that again, 17 years on, what can we do to sort of keep that relevant in pop culture and mainstream and targeted media and so forth. So I would put that as something that is one of our goals as well.
Awesome, great goals. So one of our very active and talented residents named Luca shared some great feedback on our forums recently about the content and imagery in our campaigns. Did you see that and what did you think?
Yes, I absolutely did. And I've been commenting a little bit in that forum thread. I will say I was very impressed with the thought and care that went into her feedback, including the infographic. I think there was a video or two in there as well.
Yeah.
I actually did. The first thing I did is I shared it internally. I think I mentioned our marketing teams, not the largest, but, for everybody on our team to see that. And so we have a discussion going. Always, when we see this kind of feedback, good or bad or constructive or otherwise, we'll at least look at it and absorb it and consider it. But we do look at it and we talk about it. Part of the comments spoke to the edit style and context of some of our videos, which I think we'll probably talk about today, how those may come off. And that's one of the things we looked at. Our great video production partner, Draxter, who I think most people know, and I think he's been on your show, or if not, he will
Yes.
be in the future.
Mhm.
I actually even spoke to him and shared with him. So there's a lot of dialogue that happens. We don't want to operate in a vacuum so that we kind of get a sense of how these are coming off. But with that said, I actually want to say that I'm very proud of the videos, even acknowledging that there's room for growth and improvement. I think that we've done a lot in that space. And people can see those examples on the blog post or on our YouTube channel. One thing I do want to mention, I guess the last thing is that and this is mentioned in the blog post, is that there's the sheer volume and speed at which we create these videos. I mean, if we were having this conversation a year ago, we'd be talking about one video, literally one
Right.
video. Now, I mean, I don't even know the number, but it's multiple dozens, if not even 100. It's around there. It's a lot
For
that have
sure.
been put together in a year. And just that alone is kind of a crazy, amazing feat. I just can't believe it. And we'll talk about this, and I know Darren will jump in about segmentation shortly too. But the idea that, how do you message Second Life, across the board when there's so many niche-based communities and different types of users and so forth. And the videos are part of a larger segmentation strategy to sort of really try to tap into and discover and learn from what resonates with each of those communities. But we want to continue to iterate. This is just the beginning. We've come a long way in a year, and I'm proud of what we have. And I think that we'll even up our game even more in the coming year.
What about the suggestion that was made to spin off Second Life into a new separate virtual world that only targets specific audiences, such as the suggested Tiny Land?
Yeah, I love that. I actually looked at that and I'm like, I have to Google what is that, and I had to learn more about it. So again, we have an internal dialogue about it. I have to be careful in what I say because obviously this has come kind of out of left field and there's a lot of conversations and so forth. So I don't want to put a response out that suggests, oh, we're going to jump on this, et cetera, because that's not fair to all parties. But I do want to say I acknowledge and think that's a great idea. To me, when I look at it in sort of business speak, I think of it as a quote unquote white label strategy and this really frankly goes outside of my domain as a marketer. It's really a larger product discussion. And I think there's been some conversations in the past about, well, what would it look like? And again, I'm just speaking off the cuff here. I'm not saying in an official capacity, but what would it look like if you took sort of powered by Second Life and you had specific niches or a different type of viewer that was just really marketed in that particular way? And so when I hear the idea, if I understand it correctly, that Tinyland, essentially that proposal that was on the forum is kind of a white label type strategy. So
Yeah,
that's intriguing. But again, it's not my place to say other than to say, hey, that's thumbs up, sounds awesome. But I'm sure there's a lot of variables at play and, I'll
for
have a
sure.
conversation internally about it.
Okay, so is Second Life a game for adults or young adults? Who is the marketing team marketing these days?
Sure. So I can pick that one up.
Mhm.
We've done some, user persona and segmentation research to better understand and identify key strategically relevant communities and themes. With that being said, as an umbrella, kind of sentence there, the short answer to that question is yes and no. So, Second Life is a virtual world where anyone can do or be, whatever they like and or aspire to be. And so, with that being said, we do have a lot of demographic data, showing which residents and in which age category those prospects who come to the website are, who then eventually go on to become residents themselves. So, we have a lot of interest in the 18 to 24 age demographic. So a lot of these people are hitting the website, they're looking at the content. But if we look deeper, the residents who've spent more than 1,000 hours or plus in world, the age ranges are roughly, evenly distributed across, 18 all the way up to 65 plus.
Mm.
So when we take this in mind, and when we're doing advertising, we're trying to break those age barriers and really focus on the communities in Second Life like themselves to help build and grow regardless of age or race or gender.
Okay, so I have actually two questions now that came in about adult content. So I'm gonna read them both together, and then because I think that's a pretty large topic to cover. So the first question is there any work being done to promote the adult content of Second Life? Any adult content creators, bloggers, and such that Linden Lab plans to team up with, or any ads on any adult platforms? The second question is, I feel that the adult side of SL gets left out of any marketing and PR efforts, and that there are ways to incorporate adult content without compromising the delicate virtue of the G and PG areas. For example, they give an example of the events that are coming up, like SL17B, and possibly having an adult theme area there, possibly through a portal or something like that, just to make it a little bit more separate. And also, they suggest promoting those adult regions that are very gorgeously themed and beautiful, and maybe just having a blog role with adults only. So is there any kind of work or any kind of marketing or PR work that you guys are focused on in regards to adult
Yeah.
content?
Okay, Strawberry, I'm scared. I'm scared to answer this question. I'm just being honest. But actually, it's a good question. It's complicated to answer, though.
Yeah.
And so I want to, treat it seriously here. But I will say it's a little scary to talk about, honestly. I understand why it's being asked. So just like in the physical world, on the internet in general, there's adult activity in the virtual world. Big shock, right? So I mean, that's evident. But for those who do opt in with the maturity rating settings, you can already see adult content in our search results. So I do think that existing residents certainly know where to find it. That's probably a separate conversation about the search team, but that is
Mhm.
there certainly. We also know that on the destination guide, there's actually an adults category there, and so that's also there. Although I think the PG-13-ish is sort of the guidelines for what image-wise and or text description-wise is allowed there. So there is some effort and some placement of that stuff there. But where it gets tricky is the external marketing. I mean, because that's internal mostly.
All right.
And it's something that we do think about. We cautiously are looking at it, not because of any moral judgment or desire to marginalize it, but because, just to be really blunt, there are just actual real business implications to what we do. We have to be careful.
All right.
Again, from a business perspective, there are some guidelines and best practices. For example, I know we have this on the wiki for our destination guide because of the adult category, but like maybe we can put links here to
Mhm.
them. But like if you look at the best practices in the industry, Google and Facebook and I think Verizon Media and Microsoft, at least 3 or 4 of those we have linked on our DG Wiki page. And I don't know, like maybe we can put them in chat before or after the show, but you can actually see for yourselves how the industry tackles this as sort of the main way and where those guidelines are. And you can also see in that the extreme limitations that we have when even looking at that space. So I understand and respect why
Mhm.
people in the community want us to look at that space and maybe do more in it. It's just tough. Regardless of what we want to do or not do, the reality is we're just restricted in the most mainstream, at least, ad and marketing outlets because of these guidelines. And the consequences, if we do this wrong, are significant. As just one example, I'm not going to go into every nuanced detail, honestly, but I will say the obvious one is that by looking at sort of the mainstream best practices and guidelines of these, is we could actually be at risk of even our ability to advertise on mainstream channels because if we go about this the wrong way. So again, you can look at those guidelines for that. With that said, we are continuing to test more provocative messaging in some of our romance campaigns, which do very, very, very well in terms of click-throughs and so forth. So we'll continue to explore it further. You mentioned SL17B. I don't want to speak for Patch and his team I know that that's on his radar. Maybe he can bring that up and separately. We have a little bit of time between now and SL17B, so I don't feel like it's in my domain to comment on that, except to say that that's something that that team is aware of, and it will be their call, I guess. I'm thinking if I missed anything on it. I think that kind of says most of it. Oh, the last thing I'll say, just to close out, at least on what I can say, is just to communicate the seriousness of what we look at this is, I will say that one of the first things when my new responsibilities were kind of enhanced, I guess, was I actually did take a deeper dive in this topic than perhaps had been done in a while, and researched what the ad networks are, what the limitations were, what the consequences, risk, rewards, etc. And there were some internal conversations. Really, one of the first ones that I had within the last year, maybe about a year ago, on this topic. So all I can say is we hear you, we understand. I'm not going to rule out anything, but I will say we have to be very careful.
Makes sense. So after those adult questions, we got something that was kind of going completely opposite of that. So I'll ask that one next. When you come across anything relating to Second Life, all that it shows is negative press with things such as theft, scams, and adult content. Many Second Life residents complain about the adult content in Second Life. It's very bad publicity. What is being done other than new marketing to try and reverse the negative stigma on Second Life? Can anything other than new ads be done to change the negative reputation Second Life currently has? So everybody has a different opinion, I guess. What do you think, Brett?
Okay, so this is for me, I guess.
Yeah.
I think it's another great question. It's just not, again, not an easy one to answer. I'll do my best. I think we have to attack that on many fronts. There's not a one and done solution to that. I mean, again,
Yeah.
17 years of operations, there's a lot of opinions that are cemented in, and that sort of thing. There's also all of that. But we have campaigns that are paid that we put out there on social media, and of course, paid and organic efforts. I'm really proud, and speaking to this point, of the video stories, working with Drax in particular, that we create and curate from the community, whether they come from our work with Drax or from the community, just organically, that we can amplify and boost up. I mean, just for example, I mean, my gosh, the stories that Drax uncovers, I call him a
Right.
virtual journalist, really.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they're so moving and emotional. And then, for me, as somebody who has in my former, profession been a journalist, like, for me, that is really intriguing and fascinating just on an intellectual and cultural level. But getting those out there helps, because you put a pro sentiment, inspiring story out there, and that helps. And just as one example, and there's a lot of work to be done here, but like on YouTube, there's a lot of the trolling videos and things that show, all sides of human nature on there. And so what I
Right.
am actually happy for, it's a long-term game here, but one of the things I am happy about is that the videos that we're putting out and amplifying and promoting, the more that we do that, the more that helps to sort of neutralize some of that when people do a search, so that the trolling videos are not the only thing that you see. But it's hard. That's human nature. And so it is tough when that energy is out there. But it helps to, do that. I love I mean, just in the last couple of weeks, I think it was last 2 weeks ago, we did this Black History Museum profile on
Yeah.
the creator of that. That was an amazing one. We got great feedback on that. Yeah, so I just say it's on lots of fronts. There's news media pitches that we're doing to get those stories out. When those videos get created, they actually become part of a pitch that we can use
Mhm.
to sort of get feature coverage. That's kind of a newer initiative that I'm taking the lead on for this year. So it's just on many, many different fronts. It's not going to happen overnight. We're working on it.
And I honestly, I can see the difference in just the past year alone with all the videos. And if you when you do the searching in the YouTube, there are definite changes on what's popping up more. So what is your strategic plan to increase the concurrency in Second Life that has been declining since 2007?
Okay, I'm going to say a couple statements, and then I'm going to turn it over to Darcy, because he's
Okay.
got a lot on this too. I just will say again, I actually, of course, I'm a little biased, but I believe that we've defied the odds. That SL, for 17 years of operations, that tells you a lot, as far as you can throw slings and arrows and criticisms, good and bad, etc. But we are here, and the community is obviously the reason that powers that. But the fact that Second Life as a platform is still here and going strong, I think says a lot about the platform, in whatever state people may view it in.
Absolutely.
So, and there aren't many equivalent online social platforms that you can point to that have this longevity. So that's pretty interesting. It's a blessing and a curse, though, because 17 years of entrenched communities and friendships and a very robust economic and creative ecosystem that's fueled by our loyal and frankly often patient community, that's a plus. But on the flip side, we're no spring chicken. We can't always move as quickly as people would like us to. And so we have to be very careful. Anything that's done. Again, I'm not the product guy. I'm not the coder. I'm the person who's on the marketing side. But I know in working with those teams that they have to be very, very careful not to break anything. People might say, "Oh, we just do this now," and it's like, well, wait a minute. Because of the fact that this is a 17-year-old platform, there may be consequences that maybe are not obvious to outsiders that mean we can't just do something quickly and sloppily, because it actually could put at risk elements of how, we don't want to break Second Life or have people go offline for obvious reasons. So it can be limiting. That's the flip side of it. But obviously the other side of it is that we've got 17 years of great loyal community and creations that are out there. There's that interdependence that we all have. Marketing is just a piece of the puzzle. I'm going to turn it over to Darcy to speak about some of the marketing innovations, et cetera.
Sure. So yes, since I've been here for about almost 2 years, we were working a lot more closely with product, and we're doing a whole bunch of multivariate testing with ads as well. So not only on the product side and web, but also with ads. We do experiments on most of the web pages on all Second Life properties, and experiments that directly affect the new resident registration process. So we call that internally the join flow. So when you hit an ad, you go to the join page itself, and then from there you go and world to some specific location. So this includes in the entire experience from that visit all the way down to their first time in world. And then behind the scenes, we're running dozens of tests that have increased registrations and logins. So, like for example, we will update some of the join pages registration form itself, different questions, et cetera, et cetera. But really, it comes down to, like, before we can convince product and LDPW, because we have to work really closely with Patch's team as well, to put aside those resources for these new initiatives and ideas. We have to back up all our hypotheses with data. So one thing I like to do before we start any test anywhere is gather all the data we have and make a case for, like, hey, listen, like, we do need to do this or not do it. So one recent example is our new RESD emails. A few residents receive these in their inbox, and this experiment was pretty much, hey, it's your res day, go on in, and it's awesome. And so, like, what's great is that test data came back, and we saw that the residents who had those emails were very, very happy, including actually April Linden, who had received one. For random reason, it was her birthday on the day, her res day, when that actually happened. So it was awesome. She's like, oh my God, which is great, because we actually have some more things planned for res day down the road. I can't go too much into detail on that. But stay tuned, though. It's going to be really exciting this year.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. I'm
Yeah.
hearing some good stuff. So, next question is, what are your plans for marketing more to get new users, and what are your plans to help keep and retain these new users? And also, is there a way the residents can help with these marketing and retention plans?
The blog post definitely lays that out in pretty great detail. So I think I'd refer people to that. I'm sure before the end of this hour, we'll get into more about the segmentation strategy and so forth, but you can see that very much laid out there. And the second part of that question is really, really good. That's speaking about what residents can do to help. And what I say is come out and tell your friends, share your positive experiences, about your creations and experiences in Second Life. I think so often people are hesitant to do that. And if you don't want to, that's fine. But I think that helps. If people are asking, what can we do to help in the community? Word of mouth. It's a really, really powerful. I mean, we can spend money to do ads and all that, and we are, and all these other initiatives, but word of mouth just from the community is really a very, very effective and powerful way to let people know, about it. And, that's going to be an individual decision, but I would encourage people to do that. And if you've got a beautiful picture or video or any content that you create, share it and let us know. Tag us on social media. And at Strawberry, you are leading up our social media efforts, so you're on the receiving end of that. But we can help amplify it. And the Blogger Network, Second Life Blogger Network, is another place, if you're a blogger, that we can help. So if you keep creating good content and letting us know, we'll do our best to proactively monitor it. But if we don't see it or don't note it, then tag us and make us aware of it, and we'll try to promote it and help there.
For sure. So, where do you have ads, and how do you decide to advertise there?
I can take this one. So we have ads all across the open web via display. You've seen these probably on websites. Of course, video creative on YouTube and ads on Facebook. Primarily, that's kind of what we're focusing on right now. So, these platforms are tried and true. There's a lot of data, and there's much less fraud, I guess you could say. So, regarding new platforms, we're always willing to test, and we have done so with several over the past year. Some Twitter stuff, a little bit of Reddit stuff with very mixed results. It's kind of hard on some of these because, we have some testing budget. We'll go through on a new vendor. We'll see how it's kind of working. And from there, it's like we have to be very data focused because we can always push that budget to things that are actually working. But again, we are always testing new stuff. And again, if you have any ideas, please feel free to tag us or email us. So this year, though, we plan to take advertising even further using that data that I spoke about. So we're combining new tools to expand our reach for better and more comprehensive campaign strategy overall. And going back to what Brett was saying about the segmentation, we're doing a pretty good job on that. I would say we have identified dozens of communities that we're actively, kind of building up internally and also externally with advertising and content.
So most Second Life ads focus on specific genres in Second Life. Why doesn't the ad link bring a user to a sign-up flow with relevant default avatars? And why don't we start in a relevant location at first sign-in? It feels like bait and switch.
I'm really glad someone asked this question because, as a digital marketer and especially like the ads that I see personally, I don't want to be bait and switch at all. So like when I'm here doing this job and this work, I want to make sure that that person doesn't get the same way and have a negative experience with our brand. So with that being said, we have run several tests with, community matching and the segmentation I spoke about earlier, matching those avatars and slurls that send the resident to the, appropriate location on first login. And here's the issue. Creating these experiments, as I said earlier, takes a lot of resources and time. So as you know, there are many important projects that we have in the timeline. We have like name changes and all this other stuff happening with products. So, those require our engineers to be heads down right now, but we do plan on picking up our, growth experiment tests in the near future. And, actually something I worked on with Patch Teams is Patch's team is, the Neko community itself. And then also we have a landing experience and it's already built, but we're just waiting on resources. So we're really close, but stay tuned. That's going to happen. So our main goal is not to bait and switch anyone ever, but to, again, provide the best first login experience and in world landing location as possible. This saves precious advertising dollars and it does help with deeper attention. So
Is Linden Lab planning to enhance support and communication for other languages for all residents around the world?
Okay, so there's a marketing side and a support side. I can't speak for support, although I would obviously, I know that they do have resources in multiple languages, and I assume that's continuing to be the case. On the marketing front, which is what I'll speak to, is that yes, absolutely. And in fact, you can see in the last, really, Strawberry, since you've come aboard, thank you. The last year, and actually, Darcy, I should absolutely give props to you because you were part of
For
this as well.
sure, yes.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt. But basically, our new user tutorial series, which has been updated in this last year, Strawberry, thank you very much, has been translated completely into, I think it's about 8 different languages: Japanese, Spanish, Russian, Portuguese, Italian, Turkish, German, French. I'm probably forgetting some, but there's a few of them. And you can see in the blog post, I'm gonna sound like a broken record here, actual links to hear what Strawberry sounds like in multiple languages, because there's
Not me personally.
yeah, I know. But to make it accessible rather than just the text translations, there's also the voiceover narration, and that is completely new for us. So like you can imagine, for every new tutorial video, there's now an equivalent in every single supported language narrated, and so that's new, and you can see that for yourself on our YouTube channel, and or just go to the little mega edit that we created on the blog post.
Which was kind of surreal to watch a little bit. But
I called it 60 seconds of Strawberry,
yeah,
which I thought
that was pretty funny. Okay, so the next question is, I never see ads for SL anywhere online. Why is that? And what plans does Linden Lab have to reach more people?
Oh man, this is perfect. I love hearing that because that's exactly what we're looking to do. So like, by residents not seeing ads, we're saving money. We're showing those ads only to new potential residents only. So we're saving money on that side. And so aside from email communication, to current residents, we do want to advertise specific locations or events in world to current residents via mobile or desktop. which we plan on. I'll get into this a little bit later, but we do plan on doing that more kind of re-engagement, retargeting, as Brett had mentioned in the blog post. But on the topic of reaching more people and not just those looking for sex, we are putting in place new technologies this year, to expand our reach with a focus on cord cutters as well as dynamic creative across the open web that will really just pop and stand out. So we really want a potential resident to think, oh, I've heard of Second Life. I should try that out. A lot of people I speak to, in the real world, or even, just friends of friends are like, oh yeah, Second Life. Everybody's heard of, like, most people have heard of it mostly, but it's like, how do we get them off the couch and just over to their desktop or their laptop to log in? So, but with that, we also do want to bring, back residents who haven't logged in for a while. And as you saw from the blog post earlier this week, several Facebook ads were in there, and they've been doing really well in terms of bringing old residents back, which we've seen from our data of just re-engagement overall.
So the next question is kind of similar to one I asked before, but most people I know have never heard of a cell, or if they have a negative view of what it's about. Second Life is an amazing place for meeting people, discovering art and culture, having fun, learning, and creating. What is the marketing team doing to present this image and attract new people?
Yeah, I'll just expand on what I said earlier. So there's
Yeah.
acknowledgement. There's a lot of work to do. I agree. One of the biggest surprises I've had at being at Linden Lab is that there are still, number one, so many stereotypes about Second Life, about people that have heard about us, and maybe that comes from a decade or so ago, in the earlier days. And it's even more surprising that there's still a lot of people that don't even know what Second Life is. So, like, to make an assumption like, oh yeah, everybody knows about Second Life, they formed an opinion. That's true to some degree, but that's not an accurate statement and if you look at the full picture, because there are a lot of people that still do not even know about Second Life at all. They haven't had a first impression of it. So we have to, recognize that and approach that too. So that means there's a lot of opportunities to shape and form opinions. And there's, again, one of the things people can do again is, coming out and sharing their stories and experiences. Our campaigns help with that. The video stuff, as example, from a media outreach point of view, the sort of the PR, if you will, side of things, there's a lot of, I think, more work that we need to do there, but getting Second Life back into the mainstream. That includes also looking at things that might be where people are at. Darcy just referenced cord cutting initiatives and other things like that. So we are actually looking to expand where and how we reach people, especially people that may not have heard of us yet, as we recognize that that's a large opportunity. So we are working on it, and there's a lot that we're doing now, again, documented in what we've published, but you'll see more this year.
That's good to hear. So we have seen some great uptick in marketing for SL and Focus. Would you mind sharing any specific goals you have in terms of organic marketing for the next few quarters?
Okay, on the organic front, our goal is to either create, curate, or assist the community in strong word of mouth marketing via multiple organic channels. And that includes helping to fuel and promote high quality social media content, working with micro influencers, engaging in external channels where SL can be a bigger part of the discussion, kind of what I just was saying in the last question.
Yeah.
So for example, we're looking at a few non-paid product placement opportunities with established TV programs and media channels and also to proactively pitch SL to more mainstream and niche media outlets. Okay, I'm going to tell a very quick story that's not been told before. And that is these paid placements and sort of not paid, but organic placements and so forth. There's always these opportunities where it has historically where Second Life, because it's in the pop culture vernacular to some degree, you'll see SL pop up, and occasionally we in the marketing team will have production companies reach out to us. So one that kind of went south, which is kind of a weird thing to tell, I guess, is Black Mirror. So this is a new story I've not shared before. Yeah, I'm going to share this. And I'm only sharing it now because it's kind of the past and I can talk about it. But so this is one that didn't work out, but it shows the spirit of what we're trying to do. And so Black Mirror had the Striking Vipers episode that people that follow that show may have seen. And we were actually very excited because we were approached by them like a year before that came out. And that was going to be part of the narrative, not in the entire episode, but it was a part of the narrative where SF was branded and seen. And so we provided them all the materials, everything, waited, excited like everybody else to kind of see it come out. And then they made a decision to not use it, which kind of sucks. But that's an example. And there's other ones I cannot talk about that we're also actively. In fact, I have one I'm talking to today. I can't name the show. But these are things that are I'm looking to do more of. So some of it isn't hard to do because they come to us candidly just because we're in the pop culture to some degree, and others we proactively reach out for. But that's one that I would have to say was a miss. That was like, oh, it's so close because I love that show.
Yeah,
So
me
anyway,
too. That would have been
so we may
exciting.
so there is definitely awareness of that. We're a small and modest team here, so we have what we have, but that is something that I think and I agree is important. We want to do more of that. And then you said organic, and so I have to at least acknowledge SEO or search engine optimization efforts. And that means developing content in the web or digital spaces that can get picked up by the search engine rankings. So things like community guides, SEO optimized landing pages, etc. And so yes, those are in play as well.
So next we have a question from a content creator. Some of the best marketing we have seen for SL shows the amazing content and experiences that can be available to users. Are there any suggestions for what content creators specifically can do to help with marketing? Your success is our success.
This is the same. I think I've answered it a couple times. So to
Yeah.
me, it's just, again, share. Don't be, if you are comfortable doing so, show off and share on social media, even just word of mouth, person to person, your experiences, the content you create, images, videos, just telling stories, because that makes a big difference. Those little 1 and 2, exchanges can add up when more and more people feel comfortable doing so. So please do that.
What are you doing to lure content creators back? Second Life used to be such a fun place to buy things. Now creativity seems to be lacking. Also, SL used to be a great place for people watching, but how can you do that when people around you don't automatically render?
Okay, so good feedback. Again, I'm a marketing person, so I can't speak to product functionality on that front. But obviously, that team is aware of these issues, so I'll leave that to them in another lab gab. But I hear you. I will say on the marketing front, creator-focused themes are okay. Darcy a few minutes ago mentioned the segmentation and all the targeted community campaigns, and we have different campaign creatives for each of these multiple communities that we think are high impact for the growth initiatives that we have for Second Life. Creators are one of those, no doubt about it. If we haven't communicated that clearly, I'll do so right now. We do recognize and acknowledge that the experience of creating in Second Life is fundamental to what Second Life culture and community is about, and that it is something that is appealing and has opportunities for extreme exposure in our campaigns. The one thing I can say that's evident if you look at our social channels is the Made in SL video series. That is really kind of a maker, if you will, creator series. Again, in partnership with Drax. So those definitely do that. There are definite specific creative messages, display ads, et cetera, that also are speaking to that community. So yes, that's important, and we are certainly not going to downplay that aspect of SL.
How about making ads in another language to target people from other countries and languages?
All right. Yeah, I can definitely pick this up. And, I actually did want to say, I was reading the comments real quick and I saw that fast the food. I apologize if I actually didn't make it kind of clear enough of what we're going to do for current residents. So I agree that showing ads to current residents is not a waste of money, 100%. I'm going to address this real quick now because I don't know if we'll have enough time to get to it. But at the end of the day, when we have budget for campaigns, especially for retargeting and re-engagement campaigns, when I go to leadership and we ask for budget and we have to prove that it was a success, we need to make sure that we have the data to prove that said ad did lead to a login or some sort of action in world, so we can prove that that budget was well spent. So with that being said, we do plan on doing retargeting campaigns for current residents, with in-world events, et cetera, in the future. And it's definitely on the roadmap. We're just not quite there yet as the data isn't as clean as we'd really like it to be. But it's on the roadmap. So anyways, now that that's off, so I will go back to the languages from other countries. So so going back to that, we're in full swing for all 9 languages, which includes English, on ads for search, display, and social. Our standard procedure now is we will translate everything, and we again put into that initial testing budget, and we see where it goes. So start campaigns in English because we've historically seen lower costs and better retention overall. Plus, they're quicker to get out the door given it's many Linden's first or second languages, right?
Right.
One area that we could improve on would be video. And Brett, you spoke about this a little bit earlier, but given how many of those assets are in English, doing voiceover work is really, really time consuming. And we want to make sure that the campaign is a sure hit before allocating said resources to a translated campaign. So, actually, as a matter of fact, most of this became standard after Strawberry's new user tutorials, where we had a very, very positive feedback from the community.
Well, that's
Is that
good
right,
to hear.
Strawberry? Yeah. You're like, wait a second.
No, well, I mean, yeah, you're right. Like, I've had actually residents personally reach out to me about the voiceovers in different languages, and people have been really excited to see that. And I have been working on more tutorials. I just haven't had the chance to,
Ooh.
complete them. It just take a lot of time and got a lot on my plate at the moment. But yeah, I've started like a few others, and hopefully in the next few months, you guys will see more, and of course, being translated as well. So yeah, I'm really happy that we're doing that. I love that. So I'm going to move on to the next question. Do you think the Spanish speaking community is important and numerous in Second Life? If the answer is yes, why not give more support to this community in information, tutorials, publicize your input to regions, and help translation in your language of much of the information given? I think I read that properly.
Yeah, well, I'd say yes, of course. Spanish is one of the language we commonly support with translated tutorials campaigns. There's the Spanish language voiceover for every new user tutorial. I don't work on the support team. I'm not trying to pass the buck, but I will say that in support, you see Spanish translated documents there as well. So we, in our side of things, in the campaign sides, as Darcy just said, that is one of the key languages that we do support with campaigns. We try to be smart about when and where we decide to translate. On the marketing side, yes.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
also to work off that, Brett, we're working a lot more closely with support and engineering to help them translate articles. So marketing, we're all working together to get all this stuff translated. So we're doing the best we can.
Good to know. So the next question is, I have had friends as well as myself try to search for online gaming, MMOs, etc., and Second Life doesn't show up on Google and other search engines. Why is this, and what is being done to put Second Life back in searches?
Okay, I'll start with this. This is something that taps into what both I and Darcy work on regularly. So it's both of us probably have a lot to say about it. My side of it is that number one, I want to hear more about this specific example, like what keyword did this person do a branded search, meaning they know the brand name, so they search for Second Life, and are they saying the Second Life as a brand search result did not show up? I can't replicate that no matter what browser I use. It's showing up, if not number one organically, number one or two, actually number one. I'm not seeing any variation. So, but that's me. So if anybody is getting that, I want to know that. Are they non-branded searches? Meaning, and then that's where it gets tricky, right? That's where the art and the science of search engine optimization comes into play. And so there's a lot of variables on SEO. But what were the keyword terms that were used? Was it branded or non-branded? What search engine? Et cetera, et cetera. We do heavy spending on paid search results or on paid search. And so we have a pretty strong, campaigns there, but also we also do have a lot of strong organic search results. So I would love to learn more about what this person searched for. That may tell us a lot about whether it's expected or unexpected. I don't know. Darcy, what do you want to say?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Overall, I mean, we know that Rankbrain is kind of a black box on the Google side. So, with that being said, it could be so many variables of what that resident actually saw. But if you have any suggestions, anybody in the community, and you're not seeing something, that we're not leveraging to its full potential, please send us an email. It's editorial@lindenlab.com. We do read all the emails that come through here, just heads up. But to go a bit deeper, most of our campaigns, using search is just one example. We always start with the broad terms and broad targeting. And as we gather enough initial data and cost for analyses, those campaigns are either optimized further or they're just turned off. So again, we're very, very data focused in performance marketing and would opt to push spend towards keywords and ads that are making the most impact in terms of new registrations and of course, retention.
So could Linden Lab do something to help promote the development of nightclubs and music events? Seems like successful clubs do a lot to give members a reason to come into SL and spend lindens on clothes and animations and be a part of the community, but many clubs are failing. Maybe SL could give clubs something with good attendance, help with breaks on payments or extra prims or better computing power to reduce lag in those areas, or opportunities to host major artists from real life.
Uh, similar to the question about creator communities and what are we doing there, and the adult communities and what are we doing there. So music is definitely in our segmentation strategy. So the music and the subgenres within music. So it's a broad category, right? That's really one of the most important communities and themes that are out there. And so it is part of it. That means there's unique campaign elements either out there now, well, there are now, and there are more underway. I know specifically with music because I'm working with Drax closely on future video themes, and I know there's at least one or two music ones right in the pipeline. So there are some of those. It's right there, as part of our strategy. So both in terms of the campaigns that we create, and when I say music, again, it's very broad. That's you can break that up a million different ways: live performances, live DJ, club events, different genres of music. So just being aware that we're aware that there's lots of niches and nuances to that. I think the second part of the question, that's a tricky one. It's really not in my domain, but I'm not aware of any plans to give price breaks to any specific communities, except of course education and nonprofit sectors. I understand that people are looking to sort of be economically viable in what they're doing, especially if it's a passion and they want to be rewarded for that. I understand that. So that would be something maybe that the product team would look at, or the people that are involved in that. From a marketing perspective, I can just tell you that music is something that we recognize, and it's actively part of our campaigns.
Yeah, for sure. So, have you ever thought about helping out through marketing and pricing regions that could be interesting for newer audiences like role play or LLCS regions? Not sure what
I
that
think
is.
it's the same answer I just
Yeah.
gave. And again, I mean, honestly, it's not, it's not in my domain, which I know sounds lame, but it isn't. And, but I think the good hands and the teams that make those decisions, I'm sure, are fielding these types of requests constantly and making the decisions they do. And it would probably be good for, the next time that they're on LabGab for them to discuss.
Okay. So, is any of the marketing targeting older users? You could promote the idea of being young again, try something you never dared to try in real life. Plus, also, many older people have more money to spend on their hobbies.
I have to just say enthusiastically, yes, yes, yes. We could not agree more that this is actually a very active part of the Second Life community, and there's a very active conversations internally right now
Mhm.
on our team about how to do better on that. So I don't have anything to announce right now, or I don't know if Darcy, if you want to talk about it, but I can just, on my side, I can confirm that we are developing more targeted campaigns that are specifically geared at older communities, whether they technically are quote unquote senior citizens or not. I don't know, Darcy, do you want to add to that, or is
Yeah,
that?
no, exactly. This is one of our high priority communities that we will be focusing on this year for sure.
Good to know. So, could diverting a portion of the 10 Linden upload fees for snapshots taken on a region to the creators encourage the development of more imaginative content and hence attract more participants?
That's good feedback, a good suggestion. I'll pass it on to the product team. I acknowledge the
Yeah.
request, but again, I'd have to talk to them. I think we obviously recognize and want to do better to promote and encourage great community content. So that can look a lot of different ways. I would do another pitch quickly for the Blogger Network and the social channels as places that we try to amplify that stuff. But to your question specifically about 10 Linden dollar upload fees, all I can do is pass that on to the team that makes those decisions.
Right. So there are so many incredible art installations and exhibitions dotted all throughout SL that experience-wise are equal to or even better than many real-life exhibitions. Why is this aspect not more heavily promoted?
So I think I respect that that's a perspective that somebody has, but I have to say when I see that question, the thing about it is I'm actually looking at the themes that we've developed campaigns for already, and actually art is probably one of the most
Yeah.
heavily developed I'm just saying from a quantitative perspective, if I actually were to calculate how many have we done in this niche and how many have we done in that, there's actually probably a lot in art, if not the most. It's one of the top ones. I have a personal bias. I love, love, love community, and I'm very aware of a lot of those exhibits and museums and stuff. So I have certainly no desire to under promote that. So it really is something, and you can see that in our video. We've done multiple videos, some of which have actually interviewed the artists themselves. You hear the artists there. I love, like, for example, the Patrick Moya one that we just did. If anybody hasn't seen that, that was out
That's really
there.
good.
Yeah, and Fiona Fay, I think we just did, and then there's others where maybe the artist didn't want to necessarily be interviewed, but they wanted their art shown, and so that we've had those. I won't name them, but but those are there. Darcy, you want to add more?
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to earlier when we talked about current residents and marketing. So those campaigns themselves, they are the forefront of our strategy for this year, most likely 1 or 2 quarters. So tracking the success of these campaigns, however, is again not as tight as we want it to be, personally for me. So going back to Brett, your post earlier this week on the community forum, we're implementing several new technologies that will help us track the success of these campaigns, which will give us more data, right? And then from there, we can push those budgets towards art exhibitions and other amazing, resident created experiences, much easier than before. So, yeah, stay tuned. You'll be seeing those come through. And if you don't, email us.
For sure. The email is editor@lindenlab.com.
Yeah, I don't. Did I say that wrong earlier?
No, I don't. I'm not sure. Just wanted to get that out there. So yeah,
All
if
right.
you guys email that, we'll get it. Does Linden Lab have any plans to appeal to newer generations by promoting different regions through machinima and/or photography?
Yes, I'm going to answer that, but I actually, if you don't mind, I'm just looking at some of the comments, which I know that
Yeah.
you're monitoring as well. And I just want to jump right in on one, just sort of address it.
Mhm.
So on the YouTube channel, somebody says, there's never clear answers. I find there talks that there's lots of dancing around subjects and passing on to the other team. Why is this? The answer to that is we're representing the marketing team. We have knowledge of and can speak hopefully semi intelligently about the things that we're involved with, but we are not the entire company. So LabGab was going to focus its spotlight on different teams, and those people will step up and speak as they have in the past and the future. So I think that's a fair question. I absolutely want to be open in saying I'm not trying to pass the buck, but do you want me to answer a question that I don't know the answer to, or make up something that then upsets people, that's not going to be the right way to go about it. So that's the answer to it. I'm not trying to pass the buck, but I don't know, and I'm not privy to every conversation on support or I don't know, pricing strategy or whatever. We may be at the table, we may not, but I'm not going to speak incorrectly about that. So that's the answer to that. But to marketing, I will say we will answer to any precise detail that we can. And I think if you look at our blog post, you'll see a pretty long response about our specifics, and we'll go even in more detail if that's not in detail enough. So it's the question about the machinima and photography. Yes, even this week, I think we put out a DG video about machinima. We profiled the maker behind, I think it's Future Shock, which was a 24-episode dystopian web series shot in SL. And so that's an example as of this week, actually, where we do that. I actually think there's a very valid point about should we do more to emphasize the use case of photography. I mean, my God, if you look at Flickr as an example, the beautiful, amazing shots that are there, just incredible. And it is a segment that we're aware of. And, when Darcy talks about segmentation and communities and themes that we are developing campaigns around and for, photography is definitely one of them. I don't know, Darcy, if you want to add to that.
Yeah, to work off that, it is one of our better performing segments that we have, but running a few of these tests really comes down to making sure that first user experience, matches with the ad itself. So on the machinima side, we haven't gone too deep into that, but I do know that Strawberry, in a past life, I did see some of your videos. You did some great tutorials related to those.
I tried
Uh,
my past life.
they looked really good, yeah.
I've been
But it's
reincarnated.
like, yeah, but that's the thing is like you have all this information. How do we distill that into an ad or a campaign and bring the user or the potential resident to a landing page that just has all of that stuff ready for them to go? So whether it's photography, machinima, or even avatar customization, they come in quick and they got it. So working on that, that's more on the content side for this year. And then also just one quick question from not the one, make appearances at conventions and other gaming cons maybe. So, I've been on the floor at some of these conventions, and we've had a booth set up and stuff, and the response was great. We did have some of that planned for this year, but given the coronavirus outbreak, et cetera, us including a lot of other people are kind of pulling back from this stuff. But it's definitely on the roadmap, and it's something that we do want to continue doing for sure.
I'm looking forward to that. I remember last year
Yeah.
was MomoCon that we were at, right?
Yes, I met so many residents, and it was amazing. It was a really good experience.
Yeah, it looked like fun. Okay, so how do you plan to market SL as a potential venue to conference organizers whose conferences have been canceled or affected by the coronavirus scare? We're just talking about that.
Boom.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a tough one. Again, the bottom line is absolutely, this is a serious situation. I actually personally live in one of the areas that's in the United States that's right in, there's a big outbreak, let's put it that way,
Yeah.
in my neighborhood. So it's on a personal level kind of something I don't want to take lightly and or frankly be exploitative about. And so it's interesting to hear that feedback. We do not want to seem opportunistic. We don't want to be opportunistic. Yes, we're a business and we recognize that that can have a good or bad impact on our business. So that's acknowledged. But I don't want to be the guy who's out there, putting an ad that's cheesy or sleazy, capitalizing on this horrible thing that's happening. And people can disagree with me on that, but that's just it's not the heart and soul of what SL is about. With that said, yes, there's a lot of organizations that turn to teleworking and remote conference solutions to help. And Second Life is one of many solutions that are out there, and we're here to support that as that happens organically. And yes, there are also media inquiries that come in the mainstream media as they do stories about this, where we'll probably be part of that conversation. But those are happening organically. So it's a tough thing. I mean, we'll continue to look at it, but we're just trying to do the right thing and not be exploitative. So yeah.
Yeah, I get that totally. So how can residents get their images featured as pick of the day or on the main SL website or the marketplace banners, etc.? You want to answer that, Brett?
I think it's you, actually. I'm going to throw it
Yeah.
right to the host and the guest. So why don't you take a stab at that?
Well, since I am on the marketing team, I guess I'll have to answer a question. So the image is actually featured on our Pick of the Day campaign or on our, on our website or the marketplace banners that you guys see, if not created in-house by me or some another Linden. Typically, they come from our official Second Life Flickr group. And if you'd like to be featured, the best way to do that is to add your image to that group. And also not only add the image, but also add a lot of descriptive tags to the image. And there's a reason for that, but I'll get into that in just a minute. There are rules also to the group, so please make sure you read and follow those rules. And I know a lot of residents have reached out because in the past, some of them were banned from the group for breaking those rules. So I just want to make an announcement, official announcement, that as of January 2020, all bans were removed and everyone is invited to share their images. But just please be careful of the rules. And what we tend to look for are like high quality images that fit the theme of the campaign that we are currently working on. And for example, like yesterday for pick of the day, when we were looking for the pick of the day, we might look at what's special about that day. So yesterday was World Book Day, so we'll search for images depicting reading or having books or something. So you want to make sure you get those tags in there, whatever your picture's about. If your picture has a puppy or a kitten, or you're reading, or you're riding a motorcycle or something, write that in the tags. So when we're doing the search for these kind of images in the Flickr group, your picture pops up in that search, and then it has a better chance of being featured, and then we can promote your work. So if you want to join the official Flickr group, you can do so. The link is in the description of the YouTube video right now. And yeah, that's how you get featured, pretty much. So I think that was, wow, we're almost hitting that hour mark here. I don't know, there were a lot of questions that were coming up in chat. I don't know if there was anything else that you or Darcy, Brett, wanted to address. There were a couple of questions that I noticed. Um,
I'm still scrolling through. Oops, hang on. Yeah, I'm still scrolling through them here. The one, and I'm going to miss them, but maybe you can call attention to them. The one I did want to address is
mhm.
Twitch. Somebody brought up Twitch.
Right.
And we've talked a lot about video, and let's be honest here. Twitch is a big part of the video space, and so it's a fair question to have. And it's not any secret because it's on the Twitch site that Second Life is still on their sort of not allowed list for there. That's so frustrating, as you can imagine. And all I can say about it is that is something that we are trying to change. We're not 100% in charge of that, so we're looking at what we need to do to try to reverse that. So much of what Twitch is concerned about is adult content or content that violates their community standards. And when you have potentially lots and lots of people streaming, that is something that you look at what their moderation tools are, what options are for us to get around that. So I don't know the answer, but I can tell you that it's something that I'm looking at. Yeah, so I just want to acknowledge that piece of it. It's definitely something I'd love to see change this year. It's not something I'm 100% empowered to do, but we can certainly make that effort, and we are talking to them. So yeah.
There was a question that came up that I thought was really interesting. I don't know if you have an answer for that. Why not utilize the existing strong fan base and work with things like branded products like t-shirts, accessories, collectibles, basically merch in the physical world? Is that something that we would look into getting and
Yes.
selling?
Yeah, I don't have anything to announce on that front, but yeah, we actually have that's been looked at, not just looked at, they actually have been looking at a competitive analysis of like who the major vendors are, what the merchandise offerings are, what the pricing is, how it would integrate with our site or not. Again, I want to be careful because I don't want to be somebody who says soon, and then like, okay, yeah, when, right? Let it
Yeah.
hello. So I'm trying to be careful about that, but I'm acknowledging that it is something that we actually have been doing research on actively, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to do something soon.
You said it. No, but that's great to hear because I really want some SL merch in the physical world. And speaking of merch, I do want to mention something that I forgot to mention last week. Recently, the moles made some Lab Gab merch for me, and I'm actually going to put it in on Marketplace soon in a couple of weeks. We have some mugs over here that say Lab Gab, and I think they're going to be working on some more merch. So I think once we have more Lab Gab stuff, like maybe t-shirts or something else, I'm going to start putting them up in Marketplace so you guys can pick up at least some LabGap merch in the meantime, if you are fans of the show. So I just wanted to put that little plug in and say thank you very much to the moles and to Patch's team for doing that for us. Appreciate it. I think that's it. We've hit the hour mark. I know you guys have other things to do, so I just want to ask one more time if there's anything else you want to say, Brett or Darcy, or answer any other questions that have come up at all.
Um, I could just say something real quick.
Mhm.
If you want to contact us, please, send that email out. We will read it. It will not fall on deaf ears. Yeah, no,
For sure.
please
Yeah,
let
I
us
agree.
know.
Totally agree. I think, honestly, I love the team that we have right now. Where, again, I mean, just to be honest, we're not like a huge tech company that's got dozens and dozens of marketing people. What you see here, right? The three of us plus Maverick, who's not on the stage with us here,
Mhm.
we are the marketing team. And so it's a modest team. We work with what we have. I hope that we're coming off as a little bit trying to be more transparent about what we're doing. The blog post that we wrote really details sort of a current snapshot of what our strategies are. So if you haven't seen that or you feel like we've been vague or not detailed enough, please do take a look at that. I think the link is in the description, but that goes into pretty detail about what we're up to. And there's more to come in the coming year.
Well, thank you both for being here. I really appreciate it. I know it was like I think that was the longest list of questions I have asked so far. But I appreciate you guys taking the time to come and talk to us. And thank you to the viewers for watching and for submitting all the questions. Next week I will have another show. Hopefully, I will make an announcement early next week, and you'll find out then. And I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Take care, everyone. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Strawberry.
Bye. Thanks.